What's up, everybody? It's your boy Montoya Smith, aka Black Socrates. Wanted to introduce you to a special edition of Making Money Matters Mondays, if you will. I'm pleased to have on CEO of Making Money Matters, Ashley Thomas, as well as our resident therapist, Dr. Katrina Pittman, and our special guest, Kimberly Fowler. This is a special edition broadcast because I want to give the backdrop to what we typically do, which is every second Monday, we have Making Money Matters. It's a private Zoom where we promote it on all of our pages. I promote it on Mental Dialogue. Ashley promotes it on Making Money Matters. And basically we say, hey, if you want to, this is where money and mental health meets. And so what we do is we send out a link. If you say you want the link, we have a private Zoom. But since this month, February the 14th, is Valentine's Day, we figured y'all ain't going to jump on with us. But we wanted to make sure that we still keep getting the information out. And so we're very pleased to bring a special guest in to help us with our dialogue for the day to still make sure y'all are getting your Making Money Matter Mondays, if that makes sense. So in a sense, a pre-recorded broadcast for anybody that watches this on the 14th and beyond. So with that said, Ashley, again, you are the CEO of Making Money Matters. If you could just give background so they understand you are a professional and an expert in what you do. So go ahead and give a little bit of your background, Queen.
Yeah, so hey everybody, my name is Ashley Thomas and I am the CEO of Making Money Matter. I have a passion for personal finance. So, my goal as a personal finance coach is to help people uncover their financial goals, their priorities, and I work with them to help them achieve those goals. And it was important to have conversations about mental health regarding that because our emotions, our traumas, our triggers all play into how we manage and spend our money or the lack thereof.
Sounds good. And so we were able to link you up with Dr. Trina Pittman, also a Mental Dialogue member. And she was excited to be a part of it. So if you will, Dr. Pittman, let them know how long you've been doing therapy and you've been a part of a couple of our Mondays already. So if you could just kind of speak to that as well.
Yes, hi, I am Dr. Katrina Pittman. I am a psychotherapist. I've been practicing therapy for 20 years now, and I'm so excited to be a part of making money matter Mondays because it is so crucial with our mindset. And when we're talking about all our things in life, but with that money piece of it, it deals with, for me, it really pulls into the mindset of why we spend the way we spend, what we spend on, and this relationship we have on money. And it definitely fits in with us learning money knowledge and making money make sense. And so I'm so glad to be a part of the show. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And Kimberly, without further ado, you are our special guest. She is a platinum level member, if I can highlight that, as far as the Mental Dialogue Community Club goes. But long time tax professional. So if you can just give your background and we're going to get started. If you've been waiting, it's a long intro, but y'all wait. It's been the jump off right after this queen introduce herself. Go ahead.
So, hey, everybody, my name is Kimberly Fowler, and I am a tax professional myself who now teaches other tax preparers how to start, run, and grow their own tax business. I've been preparing taxes for like 23 years. And so now at this point, coaching and teaching people about how to build their business, how to be self employed, how to, gain financial literacy, the way that they think about money, the way that they talked about money, all of that. I'm definitely excited that we can have this conversation tonight to help people gain more financial literacy.
No, absolutely. So without further ado, let's get started. This comes from a post that Kim put up just recently. So I'm just going to read her post to her and find out what was her thinking behind this post. And this kicks off our dialogue for today. She says, listen, folks, the bigger your tax refund does not mean it was prepared with quality. Please know and understand the difference. Let's try and get to the point where we are pumped about lowering the amount of tax we have to pay, if any, at tax time versus who gets the biggest refund. Okay, y'all ain't ready for that conversation. We signed up today for that conversation. What was that, Kim, if you will?
Oh yeah. So the reason why I say that is because, of course, like me being a tax professional, I have seen it over and over and over and time again with us, certain demographics of individuals who are so concerned about their refund amount. So they literally wait for tax refund time. I mean tax time to get a big refund so they can make all of these lavish expenditures and not knowing how to control that money or what to actually do with that money to empower themselves or put themselves in a better financial situation. But what I do see a lot of self-employed people doing also is trying to reduce their income subject to tax, make it look to the government as if they aren't making money so that they can boost their refund or like try and get a refund. So normally people that are getting refunds, that usually says that you're probably not in a financial situation, and not all the time. But if you're looking for a big refund, more than likely your thought pattern is you're not in a situation where you can make these power moves that the government actually wants you to make as business owners and high wage income earners. So people who are making like $40,000 or less, you're probably going to get a refund anyway. But once you start getting over that 40,000 mark, especially as an employee, you need some tax planning. You don't need to be trying to lower your income to get a refund. You need to be thinking about tax planning and how you can actually put your income, your money in other instruments that will allow your money to either grow over time or you can invest in other assets. And Congress actually wants businesses to be able to they write the reason why they write the tax code the way that they do is because it's in favor of businesses, because they want businesses to actually do something. They want businesses to be able to employ other people, so there are incentives and deductions out there to self-employed individuals so that you can plan the way that you structure your taxes. All right, it's actually set up for people to win rather than to lose, but because we've been mentally designed to say, oh no, the bigger your tax refund is, that means, oh, the tax preparer is great. No, that means the tax preparer doesn't know how to use the code and play the game,
Mhm.
and follow the rules the way it needs to be. So we got to get our people out of that. So that's what triggered that post.
No, I love it. It's a great thought. I asked Ashley. She does. So we have the Making Money Matter Mondays every second Monday. That's the Zoom call, but pretty much once a week, Ashley puts out a short video on some topic. And so just a week ago, she was talking about something similar because I just mentioned to her, give some recommendations for people who are getting their tax refunds, right? Things that they could do with some of their extra money instead of just spending it, as you were just mentioning. But in that video, she so happened to say, hey, if you're getting the big tax refunds, here's some certain things you could do. But in reality, you want to get to zero. So Ashley, I'm pretty sure that post you heard from Kim is music to your ears. So go ahead and jump in on that if you would.
Yeah. So I used to do taxes like back in the day before it was ever as complicated as right now, like 2008, 2009, fresh out of college.
Yeah.
But for me, as I got closer to it, a- as I grew up and started really focusing on my money when I was working, I was like, what is the point of getting a refund, right? And when I looked at how I was managing my money before and like how I probably could have used that refund during the year, I was like, there's no point. And there's a really awesome tool that the IRS has, which is the IRS with that IRS tax withholding calculator. And it is a fabulous tool that I tell people about all the time, especially before they changed how the W-4s were reported. I think that's how you change your.
Mm-hmm. Your W.
Okay. Yeah, and so I loved it because it really gave you the opportunity to tell you how many withholdings you should be having on your W-4, and it would show you like, hey, based on how much money you're bringing in right now, if you remain constant, you're going to get a refund. Why would I want a refund? I want that money right now. Or it would be, right now you're scheduled to break even. So my goal every year as a worker is to break even because I want that money right now.
Right.
I have bills, I have expenses, I'm trying to travel safely, I'm trying to build my savings. So, like, all of those things mean that I need more money in my pocket now versus having a refund come the next year. And then what? I mean, I'm great at managing my money, even though like I have my business and I get a refund. I'm still using that money right now. Like, I haven't blown through my tax money from 2020. 2020. So like I'm still using that money right now in 2022 because I didn't spend it all in 2021. But I know a lot of people don't have that discipline
Mhm,
and that ability to stay that focused. So
mhm,
it's like if you are in the position where you're getting overdraft fees,
mhm,
or you're not able to cover your expenses, or your car insurance is just too much, or there are things that you want to do like investing or trying to start your own business, why would you wait to get a refund when you could use that money right now to be funding that lifestyle, to be investing into your business, to be investing into other types of investments, right? It doesn't make sense to get a refund if you understand how the game works. I don't understand it to your level, Kimberly, but I know a little bit to
yeah,
be a little dangerous.
yeah.
Now, I
So
respect
that's
it.
oh, I'm
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead. No,
So
no, go ahead.
look, and like you said, we're just gonna go.
Yeah,
But
go.
yeah, so once you're under that $40,000 mark, like when you're in between that zero $40,000, and like you may be married and you got kids and things like that, you're going to get a refund even if you owe no tax. So one thing that we can do, people are in that situation. Like, you have those refundable credits, earned income
Right,
credit, and things like that. But what needs to happen behind that is the financial literacy. Like, okay, you're scheduled to get this refund even if you have any tax. How are we going to maximize this? Like that needs to be the question that's inserted into, like, as tax professionals. Like I feel like it's our duty to say, you're scheduled to get this. How do we plan to move forward with this? So that you
oh, I
probably
love
aren't in
that.
the same situation, bank overdraft fees and things like that.
No,
Yeah.
I love that thought. Yeah, asking that additional question
Hmm.
because, like you said, if you're in a situation where you're going to get a refund anyway, right, regardless of what you do, but
Hmm.
that's what you've consistently done, we just walk out of the tax office happy that there's a big amount. And you're saying, hey, we even as tax professionals, even though we're making most of our money this time of year, we can at least challenge that person to say, what are you going to do with it to use it to your advantage? Just throwing that extra question out as a tax professional. I love that. Dr. Pittman, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit. And I think if you could kind of jump on this thought process. So the reality is, even when you get good information, sometimes it's not easy to use. You can hear it and say, okay, I know this is good information. But sometimes you're aware of yourself to know, well, I don't know that I can use the information. And so an example is, so while if you're Ashley says her goal is to break even, and other people have heard it, but you can be locked in and used to getting that big amount. And here's a couple of reasons why. I want to hear your thoughts behind this. So it could be, I know I'm not, as Ashley said, disciplined enough to save the money if I get it early. So it's almost like I end up saving it by default. So therefore, I getting it now won't help me. Or the other part is what I think happens for a lot of people is, as much as financial professionals always say, you could have that money and invest it. Well, if I don't know anything about investing, it's simpler for me not to worry about it, get through the year and get this big amount. So if you could just kind of address that mindset, will keep somebody from listening to Ashley and Kimberly, even though they can hear it and it makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Because the mind loves the familiar. We love comfort. We know what we know. And even when there's new knowledge and new information coming in, we kind of pause because this is familiar. We know this. And so when you tell me all this wonderful advice, first of all, I'm maybe thinking, do I even trust you? How do you know what you know? Is your advice good enough for me? Because can I trust that you know what you know? And then how will what you know benefit me? Because I've had that old habit of, this is how I buy my kids the presents or the big ticket items for the year. So how will that advice benefit me with the monies? And definitely, sometimes we're not in the right place to take the advice. Like Montoya said, if it's something you're trying to encourage me to invest the money, well, I don't know how to invest. So I got to spend time learning how to invest. Meanwhile, I'm losing money because you got to start somewhere. It takes that opportunity to risk it. And so this feels safe. If I know I get that refund, I know that that's safe, guaranteed money. Putting that accountability and responsibility on me may be a little too much that I want to hold on to, that I want to be responsible and accountable for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And sometimes you just don't have a motivating reason. Like all these reasons are good, but is it good enough if
So
the why is not big enough?
yeah, so that's a good point. So I think people like to jump on the bandwagon, and right now society, social media in itself puts a big emphasis on, oh, you're getting this big tax refund, so look what you can get now. Like, look at the tangible things you can get. I think if we come together, like you said, people need to see it and say, hey, this is what I did with my tax refund. And over the time I was able to invest in this, or I was able to actually acquire this asset. How can you A lot of times people don't understand what they don't know. And if we make it relatable, like people like us, we start making it relatable, make it normal, make it look normal to take your tax refund and better put yourself in a better position, then I think people will start to latch onto it. Because a lot of times people want to be in a better position, they just don't know how.
Right.
Or when they do hear the information, it's so high level, it's like it's those limiting beliefs start to come in.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I want to add to that, I feel like the reason why it's better to have money coming to you throughout the year is that whether it's stocks or your business, you have to be pumping money into those investments on a consistent basis, right? So even when you talk about stocks, it's like if you continue to invest, let's say $200 every single month, sometimes you'll get more of an investment, other times you won't get as much. But the fact that you are consistently investing is what is most important over the long term. And if you're just waiting for this one lump sum that it might be 3,000 this year based on the tax laws, it might be 1,000 next year, it might be nothing. You're not ever having the opportunity to consistently pump money into your investments. And so, like, if you could have that money coming to you throughout the year and deal with your taxes or be tax planning, as you said, Kimberly, tax planning to know that, like, oh, I'm taking these steps to make sure that I break even. Now you have the opportunity to be consistently investing so that you are continuously pumping money into your investments, into your business, or whatever it is that you're doing with that money, so that it's consistently bringing results in for you. And maybe it's generating additional income for you to now do something with those returns or profits from your investments. But you have to be consistently, not once a year, not twice, like it has to be a consistent effort that you are making with that money.
Right.
And if you're following what Ashley's saying, you'll end up with more than the tax refund as well. So just really keep that in mind. But I want to pivot to Kimberly, you talking about tax planning, especially because when you first talked, you gave two extremes. Those of those that are employed. I'm kind of both. I'm an employee and entrepreneur, if you will, self-employed, if you will. But you kind of gave the extremes, the view of the employee versus the self-employment, always, in a sense, just trying to maximize your expenses to lower your numbers or whatever, which is the approach that a lot of self-employed people take. Can you just dialogue about, we use the word tax planning, but the reality is very few people know what that means.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Right.
So explain when you finally get a self-employed person who may have been doing it the way they typically do it,
Mhm.
and maybe you create enough of a relationship that
Mhm.
you transition them into tax planning. Can you just show an example of what that looked like from all the way from how they used to do it, and then it's kind of like probably eye-opening them for them to actually plan their year out in advance of tax season, because it starts the full year in advance.
Right.
At least the way I understand it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great point. So when I talk about tax planning, it's pretty much what it is, like planning your taxes or planning your situation. So the number one place that it starts is keeping, or like if you're self-employed, you have to keep yourself organized. You have to understand what you have coming in versus what you have coming out. So some people have a lot coming in. They may be making 50,000, 60,000 in their business. They may have a lot coming in, but they're like, oh my God, I just need to make all of these deductions to make my income look less than it is. When you don't have to do that, you can actually, based on what you're organizing your expenses as every quarter, based on what you have as a net profit. If you're anticipating to have a profit, you need to be budgeting your taxes in, just like you budget your rent, your office supplies, your, those consistent monthly expenses. Your taxes also need to have a line item as well. So if people get the mindset of like, hey, taxes isn't something I can just matter of factly do. This is something that has to be done and planned. They need to budget that into their finances, if that makes sense. So that's one way. Make sure that your books, if you don't have books, get yourself a good bookkeeper who's going to organize your records. All bookkeepers don't do taxes, but you definitely need to have somebody to organize your records. So that way, at the end of the quarter, if you have a net profit that's subject to self-employment tax, then you can just send it off in that quarter to the IRS. And by the time that you do your taxes, you're going to either net to zero if you've done it properly, or you may even get a little bit back. It just depending. Like you may have overpaid. So that's a way that you can plan. And then if also your tax structure, like the way that you're structured is also another way that you can consider planning your business. If you're consistently making $50,000 in your business as a self-employed person or more, I'll just say 50,000 as a number because that's when it starts to make sense. You can elect to be taxed as an S corp in your business, so that will also save you some money on taxes as well. So there's different entity structures that you can actually structure yourself with as well to start saving on taxes. But for simplicity purposes, keeping organized records of your income, of what you're making, and putting that line item in your budget of taxes and just sending it off every quarter, you're able to actually still claim income, a decent amount of income, so that when you're trying to buy that house or get that loan, you ain't got to go back and amend the taxes because you done wrote off. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be a loan officer, and we would have people, they clearly made a lot of money, but we like, but this is how you look on paper.
Right.
And we would say, you're gonna have to, sometimes we would have to tell people, you're gonna have to wait a full year.
Yes.
Based on what we saw on their tax returns. And they would be so confused because they're like, I make the money.
Right.
But because they didn't have tax planning, they would have no clue that you want to, and just even since we're talking about this, you want to show an increase over 2 to 3 years,
right,
which makes it, because it's a little harder for a self-employed person to get a home for that reason. But if you're doing what self-employed people, and I make this mistake sometimes myself, and then you can get away with it if you ain't looking to purchase a home.
Right.
But if you self-employed and looking to search a home, that's when you'll be like, oh, I got to do this completely opposite. So you're trying to figure it out, or like you said, go back and amend it. You could have been planning the whole time, especially if you know you're getting a home or an investment property,
or an asset.
Yeah, you got that's when you got to out. So you got to plan. But this year I want to go the opposite route because or the next 2 years I got to go to the opposite route because I'm planning on buying a home.
Right. Just like you have to pay your mortgage every month or your rent every month. Just shift the mindset to say I have to pay taxes, so I can't spend this. You can even create a separate account. Like literally just have it like go to a separate account so you don't even see it. Auto draft some money into a separate, just specifically for taxes to send to the tax. So that way it's almost like it's a bill. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you can kind of shift your mindset around how to pay taxes. Like this is something that's needed.
What's interesting is I'm listening to us and we're talking about the tax planning as a business owner. I was talking to our tax planner and the person that does our taxes, and she was saying that even though 2020, a lot of people lost a lot of money, she really does not want me to put everything that I lost on it. She really doesn't want me to, even though they're legitimate outgoing expenses, she really does not want me to put those as a loss, because she wants that tax planning you guys are talking about. She wants to show increase in my income.
Yeah.
And that is a hard pill to swallow, because it's like, oh, but that's true.
Mhm.
But I get it for the long run. But that's a hard thing we have to buckle down and do, when it's like, but the opposite, I gotta do the opposite now.
Yeah.
When this
Right.
was giving me a refund, and now you're
Right.
saying don't even count that so that I can show it. It's a challenge. It is
It's a
not.
mindset shift. Yeah. So just the same way, the purpose of my post was because I want people to look at the way you get excited about a huge tax refund to I want people to get excited about, oh man, I broke even, I don't owe them nothing. Like
Mhm.
yeah, so that's a huge mindset shift. Yes, it's challenging, but it's doable because other communities do it. Like they praise themselves on paying, oh, we didn't pay any income tax. They're not talking about a big refund. You see what I'm saying? These corporate, and the more money that you make, the more incentives that the government actually has for you. You just have to make sure you're aligning yourself with somebody who understands small businesses and the incentives, and the things that you can have as credits even for your business. Like there's things that you can do as a small business to get credits as a small business. Like you can hire certain people, you can hire your family. Like there are certain ways that you can reduce your income subject to tax, even and show positive income. So
Yeah.
Because yeah, please, Ashley, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes back to that, what is your why? And I think that like when you have these conversations about tax planning or just having financial discipline, it's really about knowing what you want to do. And I think not even just because of COVID, but just, life is so hectic and things just go on. It is very easy to just go to the default, like day in and day out, and you're not thinking about these things and you're just operating. And so you're not planning. And I think the thing that I'm hearing is that in everything we kind of have to have a plan, right? Like even if you're talking about home ownership, it becomes like, how does this impact me overall, right? Because it's not just, oh, do I have the savings? It's, how does my income look in regards to this home? And like, not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I tell people, if the only thing you're talking about when you're talking about home ownership is the fact that the mortgage is going to be cheaper than the rent, and you're not talking about insurance for that home, if you're not talking about an emergency savings, if you're not talking about how you're titling that property, then you're not really talking about home ownership. You're just talking about a difference in cost. And that's not the same as home ownership. And so when
Mm.
you're talking about tax planning, you're talking about, what is it that you want to do in the future? What is it that you want to achieve? And like, how can you be strategic? And I think there are a lot of us, myself included, that just have to be able to think strategically. We don't think strategically. We tend to be short sighted, or just like, this is what I want to do for next year, right? Like, this is what I want to do for the year after that. But it's not about like legacy or future. So what is your why? What is it that you want to achieve 10 to 15 years from now? What is it that you want to achieve in the next generation? And like, what is it that I can be doing that's going to get me closer to that goal, or, the people after me, getting us closer to that goal and achieving this thing? And I think just like, as a community, we have kind of lost that foresight. And when I think about like the past, and just how it was like, the push for voting rights and the push for us to be able to read and all of these things, right? Like, there was foresight and pre-planning that was happening, and like this bigger goal. And I know this is taxes, but like, what is our bigger goal? Are we really thinking about that, or are we just stuck in the day to day?
right, exactly.
Yeah, let me ask you. I think this is so perfect, and this might be, maybe we can kind of let y'all have some extra thoughts. We'll get some closing thoughts. But Dr. Pittman, you just basically let us know you're experiencing the example that we just gave now with your tax person. So to a degree, you're a professional. You do this for a living, and you help others. But as professionals, y'all are human too. So you're having to mentally go through this. What does that mental transition look like for you? And what mental health techniques, if you will, are you having to apply? Because it's a huge adjustment. Because as what happens is subconsciously, I always tell people, it's two things we worry about, whether we realize it or not. Quite often, it's money and health, whether we realize it or not. If they're good, we don't have to worry. But if they're bad, we'll put them off and not deal with them. So you're having to make this big transition. So what mental techniques are you having to, in a sense, from your professional background, use on yourself to transition? I think that it might help others who may be in the same boat.
Yes. So for me, it was a matter of asking, what's my why? What do I want? What does this tax refund, this whole tax issue bill? And for me, it's of course generating wealth and having a legacy. And so I had to shift, I had to do a mindset shift. I had to challenge some of my limiting beliefs about money. And then I had to make it and make um, a decision to delay the gratification. I had to make that mental note. It's like, okay, so I already know I'm not going to add this loss to my taxes. And that loss will give me a gain later. I just have to delay my gratification. So it was looking at more so what's my rewards. So at first it's like, that's my money. But it's like the mental shift goes into, okay, well, what do you want? And changing that over into it becoming a reward. So now I'm thinking
Mhm.
positively, like, oh, I get to not write off everything, but it will gain in the past. Where my old mindset was, whether this client pays me or not, I'll write it off on my taxes as services rendered, which I'm counting for that money and I'm getting paid for that because I'm still getting an account for my taxes. But that mind shift goes into saying, okay, I want something better. I want my business to become established. If I wanted a loan, I would want to be able to establish and get one. If I wanted to do bigger things with my business, even apply for certain things, I need that financial equity. I need that financial um, portfolio to look good. And so my why, and I had to look at it as it's a reward. I'm rewarding myself. I'm
Okay, then.
delaying my gratification, and this is my reward. This is what I'm going to get for waiting now. It's going to multiply later.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
love it.
just like Montoya said, you have to look good on paper because it opens up so many more opportunities when you're showing that you are healthy on paper. Like even
Mhm.
I'll take myself as an example. I had the same mindset. I wasn't getting a big refund, but at one point in time I was like, I gotta get a refund. But once I start showing that positive income and putting money in other places, now I have access to lines of credit that I can leverage to make even more income than just I don't even want a tax refund. I'm gonna be mad. You know what I'm saying? Like so now I can create more jobs. I can create more revenue because now I'm in a position to where I can leverage because now you're playing by the rules.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. The leveraging is major.
Mhm.
Ashley, a quick thought on anything that's just been said. I'm gonna ask one more question. It will be out for here in a few minutes, but
Yeah, I think when I think about like what's happening, it's really like it's your mind over everything,
Hmm.
right? If you can get your mind in the right direction, you can achieve anything. And I think once you have that understanding of how it will work for you, once you can see real examples or have conversations where people talk about like this is why it's beneficial for you to do this, or this is why it's beneficial for you to not have a refund. Like for me, prior to like really being in my businesses, it was like I I if I got a refund, it was so that I would not tie up my money in bills that I could prepay, right? So I can prepay my car insurance for the year. I can prepay my electricity bill. Now I'm freeing up additional income for the year for me to do things how I want to and not be bogged down with everyday bills, right? And so, like, it's your mind over everything. If you can shift your mind, then you really have access to do whatever you want.
Right.
I love it. So for anybody, that's checking it out and loving what you're hearing, definitely a lot of approaches, but we have all professionals here. And our ultimate goal with Making Money Matters, again, is not just bring you the information, but the reality is if you've gotten bad habits and most times we're very aware of our own bad habits.
Mm.
Or whatever. And people see this, but for example, Kimberly is a coach in her field, helping people transition, like she just told her own story, where now she's leveraging money and being smart with her business. But everybody out there that may be, you may not be a self-employed or a business. So just want to understand that this all applies. And that's what Ashley is. She's a personal finance coach. It's not the same as a financial advisor. Like she always clarifies that. I like to clarify that. So if what you're hearing sounds good, schedule a consultation with her or whatever. Because sometimes what happens is sometimes you need somebody to hold you accountable until you learn to be accountable yourself. And then we didn't do a lot of this today because we were focused on the tax refunds. We're in tax season, but Dr. Pittman, again, a lot of things that you may be going through, other traumas you may have a big effect on why you're not ready to take the steps you're hearing Ashley and Kimberly talk about. So a lot of times the trauma in your life you don't even realize is affecting your money. You don't realize that you're going out overspending because you've been triggered. So if you have other issues like that, Dr. Pittman is our psychotherapist, and ultimately you can get with them together, and they have a program where they run it together. But if you need some therapy and kind of afraid to take that step, do a consultation, with them or whatever, and you literally just contact me. I give out my number all the time, so you can contact me at 404-604-9477, and I'll set you up with the consultation for either one of them, or you can get into Ashley's bigger program where you get both of them. So, Kimberly, you were wonderful tonight. As a
Yes.
special guest, if there's anything you want to close with based on what you've heard us say, thank you for being a part. We'll definitely maybe look to have you actually on a Making Money Matter Mondays whenever we have an actual one in the future. Maybe we can get you on in the future. But any closing thoughts from you as our guest?
Yeah, I just want to say, just let's work on our, like, if you have a scarcity mindset and not that abundance mindset, let's work on that mindset. Like,
Mhm.
it's definitely that it's a scarcity mindset thing that's all tied into why this doesn't make sense. So definitely let's have more conversations about that.
No, I love it, Ashley. I'm gonna actually let you close us out because that's why you have Making Money Matters, where money and mental health meets, and it's to rid scarcity mindset. So that's a great way to close. Go ahead, Queen.
Yeah, I just want to say, money can be a very scary conversation, and it can be very intimidating when you don't know what questions to ask or um, what things you should know. And there is no reason to ever be intimidated about where you are. The whole point of getting things together is you can establish a baseline about where you are right now so that you can see your growth and your development and how you are achieving and expanding. And so, if you want to have that conversation, if you don't understand any of what we talked about tonight and you want to know, that's enough reason to reach out and have a conversation with us so that we can get you moving in the right direction. There is no such thing as a stupid question. There is no such thing as reach out to us. That's what we're here for. These are the types of conversations that we are passionate about having, helping people pursue and achieve more, right? There's so much more to life than what we're doing. It's not just bills and due dates. It's so much more to that. And that's what we're here to help you achieve. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you are reaching out to us and let us have a conversation with you to see how we can elevate you.
Making Money Matter Mondays, every second Monday of the month. Ashley, give out your contact information. Then we'll go to Kimberly. Then we'll go to Dr. Pittman. All of your contact information. If one of these people resonate with you, if you're looking to get into the tax business, I promise you Kimberly is the way to go. But either way, Ashley, give out your contact information and your
Sure.
social media stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Making Money Matter LLC. Same with Facebook. You can go to my website, www.makingmoneymatter.org, or send me an email at makingmoneymatter@gmail.com.
All right, Coach Kimberly Fowler, let them know how they can keep up.
Okay, if you want to follow me on IG, you can follow me at TaxPro Kim. That's at TaxPro Kim. You can go to my website, www.mytaxprosoftware.com, and you can schedule a free strategy session there. Or you can follow me on Facebook at Kimberly Fowler.
Dr. Pittman, how can they get in contact with you?
Yes, you can get in contact with me through my website, www.drkpittman. You can email me at info@drkpittman. My telephone number is 404-808-3419. And you can follow me on Facebook under A Paradigm Shift.
No, absolutely. And again, in the event that you saw this broadcast and you want to talk to Ashley or Dr. Pittman, just make sure you let them know you saw the Making Money Matter broadcast, because typically you would only see us via the Zoom that we do every second Monday. But today, special broadcast for Valentine's Day. If you're seeing this on Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Let's get this money. You know what I mean? Let's get this money, and so y'all can have amazing Valentine's Day for those that see it on Valentine's Day. All right, thank all of you. That ends our broadcast. All of y'all will stay in the back when I end this broadcast real quick.